One thing I've learned, if you don't hold their feet to the fire, everybody gets burned.
Hold on. Before you start waving around that freedom of speech thing, when you're in a crowded movie theater and you scream fire, you better be able to smell smoke. You come on this radio show and you start saying inconsiderate things like that, you better have more behind you, pal, than just your thumb. I've been listening to talk radio for years, and one thing I just can't stand is when the host has to, push his way on the people, beat the callers into his way of thinking, extending his ego, or when the callers call in and say something so outrageous and the host lets it go unchallenged. The sign you're on the road to truth is the lack of contradiction. You want to find truth, you just don't simply believe somebody because of their authority or their degree, or you listen to what they say, you test it against reality, and you hold their feet to the fire. All right, and back in live, Feet to the Fire. I'm your host, James Outher-Yanchik, Black Knight of Talk Radio. I'm doing this live via Spreaker. It'll be uploaded to YouTube and BitChute at some point after that. I'm going to clear my throat. Well, I have much to talk about. I'll try to make it brief, but it's going to be a bunch of stream of consciousness. It's kind of going to be all over the place. And so if you're looking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get one point across, which is what I actually like, I look for. So not going to happen. I'm very unhappy and very upset, and I'm shocked on this Easter of the lack of fighting the oppression of stopping people from going to church. Now, it's funny because I haven't gone to church much because of doctrinal differences I have with certain denominations, and when it does come out, it becomes, it's just fine. But it's funny. It's funny now that I couldn't go to Sunday on church. I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked hard and wide for any church that was open. I was going to go there. And of course, they're not publicly saying it, because then it would only invite the Gestapo to show up, and but let me get this. People like, well, God understands, and well, you can worship online, and yeah, I got that right. But here's the deal: I think we can handle putting on masks or babushkas or whatever, doing the 6 to 10 feet apart in the church rope. They have the reporters manage to go and sit down far apart from each other. And I think that the mask, whatever, would stop when you're singing. You're projecting things out. I think that would be well within acceptable. We're going to stores and shopping. We're going to get booze. We're going to have you're going to get your cars fixed. I mean, you're doing other stuff, and it just kind of slapped me awake. It's like it kind of woke me up and going, wait a minute. One of the things they're doing here is saying that guns, sales of guns, and going to church is not essential. Well, the gun thing had a nice lobby to open that up, and the president said that. But there was no lobby for the churches. Again, a lot of churches are a problem. They're a problem itself. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of problems in organized religion that takes away from the teachings of Jesus. And that's another day for another discussion. Right now, we're talking about the government telling you you can't go to church. And the excuse is this COVID. Now, I've been keeping track. If you look back at the shows I've done going back into February, March, I was stunned by the numbers not being impressive compared to the regular flu. And, people have died. Perhaps loved ones have died. 21,000 people as of the last time I looked have died, and that's not good. But, and there's no taking away from that, but the problem is you're killing the entire country. 20 million people are out of work, or close to it anyway, in a matter of 3-4 weeks. And there's 21 people dead from the disease. I'm looking at, by the way, I'm turning on to another computer, COVIDtracking.com. It correlates all the data from the various states and puts it together. 2,805,000, almost 806,000 have been tested. I'm going to move the mic. 551 positive, 2,254 negative, and 21,909 deaths. When you do a little math, for those who follow my Feet to Fire, the page, my Facebook page, mine, look up James Arthur Jancic, and you could find it. I keep track of the data and do the math because the mainstream media doesn't seem to be able to do this math. Where's the latest one? Oh, here's Seymour. Okay. Latest numbers behind the closing and killing of the U.S. economy and throwing close to 20 million people out of work. Out of 822 tested, 80.3% are negative, 19.7% are positive, and 0.78 have died. It's of the test now. Reminding you that the tests are usually done to people who either have been exposed or feel they've been exposed, and they have symptoms or whatever they're trying to test. Now, some people are just checking, but generally, when you go to get tested, there's a motivating factor around it. Somebody around you has it. You're in a sensitive position where you might get it, which would raise the chances of a positive over a negative just in the test field. But if you spread out the death toll through all the people of the United States, as of 2018, the population of the United States was 327,170,000. And if you do the math and divide the total number of people into the death count times 100, the percentage is 0.0067. So let's close down the economy, send 20 million people out of work, destroy the supply chain, get everything unbalanced, that it's going to be a miracle if it comes back to any kind of percentage of it is, because 0.0067 of the people have died. Now, again, people have died. We had a war in Vietnam. They were drafting people against their will. 50,000 of them died. Who knows how many Vietnamese died, and the death, the destruction of limbs and brains and whatnot, many, many times over that. And what happened in the end? North Vietnam took over South Vietnam. And now Vietnam is one of our most favorite trade status nations. What about those 50,000 people? Died for nothing. Died for political whim-wham and ended up being nothing. All those deaths and destructions. God, does that piss me off. And I remember missing the draft by one day. And I remember also years later thinking, like, they'll never do this again. Well, then it came the Gulf War. You have, Osama bin Laden from his cave, knocked down the Twin Towers, got to go over there. Then, of course, Saddam Hussein is cooking up bug juice or something in there. Well, we couldn't find it, but we knew it was there somewhere. And here we are now. Now we've perfected all this stuff, and now this is a hostile takeover of the United States by the nefarious faction, which is a modern American conglomerate. It's a modern version, I should say, of the Bolsheviks, the Mao Zedong Cultural Revolution. Toss in a little Cuba and Venezuela for spice. This is what we're seeing right now. They tried to knock Trump out. They tried to do all this stuff, and now they've said, scorched earth, the hell with it. Bam. They picked a narrative that they can bilk and milk. They could scare everybody with saying 20 million people are going to die. Oh, that's been knocked down to 60,000, which is in doubt that'll even be hit. Oh, so we knocked it down to there, and we got permission to shut down the economy. Now, Trump went along with this. Not happy about it, but also we're in a giant TV reality show. Our government, this whole reality is real. I started talking about this a couple weeks ago, and I got knocked off the air. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that. Electricity going out, right? Which resulted in me knocking off the air. And we're in a big LARP, live action role play game. We're in a TV reality show. This is like The Bachelor or Bachelorette. Only they've gone live. They've taken it off TV and they've gone live. This is WWE. This is, back when they made dramas on TV, everybody knew it was fake. I like Perry Mason. There's no Perry Mason, but I like Perry Mason. Would there be a Perry Mason? At least there was but I didn't. I knew it was a drama, a fantasy, if you will. But now they've mixed fantasy with reality. Now we have The Bachelor, which is absolutely ridiculous, and yet Bachelorette. They're got to be the worst TV shows in history. Making wrestling look like Shakespeare, okay? And so now we've gone live. We've taken a real event with a real a germ, real virus, and they've blown it out of proportion and used it as an excuse to use the emergency powers to shut down the economy, strangle it to death, send 20 million people out of their jobs, destroy the economy, which was roaring, because just like it says in any election, it's the economy, stupid. Well, guess what? There isn't an economy now. The supply chains are out of work. Let me explain this to me. I know when it first happened, people bought a lot of toilet paper, which I thought was silly. Flu and toilet paper doesn't seem to work out. All right, it's been a few weeks now. They're starting to, they're saying one package per person. We're starting to, get handle on it. I still go in the store. There's still a lax of stuff. So why did I read stories? And at least they're posted up on my Facebook page, only because it's just easy for me to do this. All right, I'm going to scroll down to this. Where's the milk? The milk and eggs are being destroyed because of lack of orders. No, here it is. I got it. Cronus era, drop in demand for leads farmer to toss milk and break eggs. Now, wait a minute. So 20,000 people die and no one buys milk anymore? I go to the store, the milk's low, the eggs are low, they're there, but they're low. But everybody decided to buy a bunch of milk in the first few days, and now they're not buying anymore? You can't hold milk but a week or so. Eggs, So now there's less of demand for eggs. I don't buy that. I don't buy there's a less demand. Let me move down here. I also got this article, being someone who is a truck driver dealing with containers. Container liners cancel hundreds of sailings as COVID-19 hits global trade. Well, as I read the article, what does it say? Does it hit global trade? What are there people getting sick on the ships? No. They're saying it's lack of demand. They're canceling 130 sailings. That's a ship with 100, I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of it now. What, 200? I'm not good at estimating. 200 containers, 300 containers on a ship? Because they're not saying there's not a demand? Are you kidding me? But if people stop buying, even the people who have been thrown out of work and are not making money still got to buy milk and eggs. they put together a rescue package. You know, this is another thing that kills me. People say that, oh, Trump's taking over the Fed. Hooray. The United States government, the Treasury, is guaranteeing the loans that are going to be loaned out at markup. What's the word? Fractional lending. So the Federal Reserve is going to loan out $4 trillion in loans, low-interest loans, guaranteed by the United States. That's us, me and you, taxpayer. And they're going to send it out, and all these businesses are going to borrow all this money to pay their people, to keep the business going. And when it's all said and done, they're going to be way in debt. And that interest rate is not fixed. The Fed can raise the interest rate and has done. If you notice, when Trump got in office and the economy took off, boy, time to raise that interest rate to get some of that interest. All of it's illegal. Why does the Fed have to lend money that the United States can print? I mean, that whole thing is another discussion. But so they say that Trump took over the Fed now because he can control, or his programs, the 4 programs he put into work, controls lending. In other words, it allows people, allows them to force, put out lending, which the Federal Reserve still gets the interest from once the interest starts going back up. So, I mean, it's like, and then Trump isn't going to live forever, provided he wins the next election. Well, please. Who's coming after him? You're trusting in perpetuity anybody elected to be in charge of passing out money? No, it's not good. It's not a victory. This Q stuff's driving me absolutely nuts. Well, this COVID is a cover for arrests to be made. Oh my God. So we're going to throw 20 million people out of work. There's 20,000 people dead, 500,000 sick. All kinds of elective surgeries and stuff has been put on hold indefinitely to make room for the surge, which isn't coming, by the way. All this is done so that these arrests can take place. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts reading this stuff. I started putting people, silence them for 30 days. I got to stop. I can't see this stuff anymore. It's driving me nuts. The country is dying in front of our eyes. We're watching a bag over Uncle Sam being duct taped by the technocratic leaders in these groups, these doctors, coming up with if it looked to me, we'd have everybody sit home for 18 months. Oh, really? It's dying in front of us. Can't go to church. There's police out taking license plate numbers, giving out fines, and or force quarantining you. What? Yeah, it's the plan is working real good. Real good plan. Not the plan that I was led to believe. It's driving me nuts listening to this stuff. I try to correct some of it along the way, give my point of view. Look, I'm like the reluctant guy doing this. I'd like to be talking about just discovering stuff and looking at ancient history and looking at some of the pyramids and, hey, did we have ancient astronauts? That stuff's all fun and cool, but not we're dying. The United States is dying. Right now, we're watching it die. And every week that the noose is on, the oxygen level goes down in this country. No, it'll be okay. We'll come back in a couple weeks. We'll start it up. And I don't know. I don't know what people do for a living. I drive for a living. So I've been lucky to still have a job while others haven't. Now, of course, I'm a hero, right, for going out there and brazing this virus. And all you have to do is wash your hands, keep your hands out of your face, wear gloves and or a mask to assist all of this stuff. And you could, what about the healthcare workers? They should be all dead. Now, some have gotten ill, and that's bad, and they've gotten sick. And then actually, an extended family member had a friend who was a nurse who died. So it does happen. But if it was that bad, everybody would be dead in the health. It's like watching The Stand. That's bad. Watch The Stand. That's bad. I think the straw that broke my back to realize is when they just said, "No, I'm sorry, you can't go to church." I mean, in church we couldn't sit 2 aisles apart and wear masks or scarves or babushkas or whatever. No, we're little children. We can't do that and still have corporate worship. Well, of course, this kills all of the Trump rallies because now it's like, well, we're going to have to stop this. Our city canceled everything for summer. Our governor decided to cancel everything for summer, and all of a sudden the next day he kind of goes, well, we'll have to see. Well, I probably got thousands of mails and emails. I know I called my state reps, and I said, overrule him or throw him out. Pritzker. Isn't it funny? I mean, this is not political like Democrat versus Republican. The Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party anymore. It's the Bolshevik Party. And a lot of the Republicans have been weeded out. The never Trumpers has either seen the light or playing along, and a lot of other ones retired. So even the Republican Party isn't the Republican Party anymore. This is a whole new deal here. This is the struggle and soul for America. And they've put a face on it with the COVID-19. They put a face on it, and it gives them the technocratic right to use their technology, gosh, I'm so mad I'm pissed. I can't even talk. Technocratic, bureaucratic tape to shut things down. And then that guy comes out there, well, we got to be careful. We get another wave. It's like, hey, it's called life. Things happen. Floods happen. Thunderstorms happen. Volcanoes happen. Viruses happen. And we don't sit down and put a bag over our head and duct tape it so we don't get the virus. You take your whatever you can. People die in it. We all, I got another clue for everybody. We're all going to die someday. Yes, even the knuckleheads who think they're going to download themselves to a computer. We're all going to die someday. We're here for some time period, and we're here to live this life period and do with others and for ourselves to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, etc. That's what we're supposed to do, not live in the house. There's a book I'm reading now. I've read it before. Probably my subconscious told me to, I should say listen to it because I'm driving. I listen to it. It's a good book. I've read several books by this guy, Alistair Reynolds, I think his name is. The book is called Chasm City. And it's amazing the correlations we have here. They had a melding plague, which came in, and they had intelligent machines which actually was able to work with matter and make things. It's science fiction, so it's, but the point is that this plague come in, and there's a lot of correlation with what's going on. Listen to it. But in this, they actually had a real plague there that did this. This is not a plague. This is an unfortunate wave of a flu. The flu that is aggressive in certain cases more than others, whereas the standard flu isn't that terribly aggressive. But when I looked up the flu statistics for this season, more people died this flu season so far than this particular strain. Now, at some point, it might overtake it by some percentage. But in the past, it's not uncommon to see 50,000 people die a year from flu and a related flu, pneumonia. Another thing I have up on my web on Facebook. Again, it's just, you can look for James Arthur Jancic, and it should come up, and you can look there. I have a graph which I'm gonna have to scroll down now to find because I'm going all out of context. All right. Let me look at this. I got a picture from the New York subway taken a couple days ago where people are crammed into the New York subway. But, of course, you can't go to church, right? Why are they crammed? Wait a minute, I thought there's a lot of people out of work because of this stuff. They're staying at home. Why are they crammed? Because of the lower amount of people working, they cut the amount of cars. So the net result overcrowding cars anyway. Now, either they're really stupid, either they're really, really, really stupid, which, could be the case, or it's just a way to make sure New York numbers stay up there nice. You might look at me as paranoid and go, oh, man, no one knows that evil. Whoa, we're dealing with the evilest of evil, or raising their heads out. This is the time of the apocalypse, which is a Greek word for revealing, revelation. It's all coming out. It's coming out. The real gut and soul of these people are coming out. Now, for some reason, the COVID virus is causing all the world's telescopes to close. Because after all, they're all hanging over each other, right? It's like one guy sitting there looking at a screen. Well, we better shut those down. So Governor Bashir has had the police out taking license plate numbers for people who were in church. And what they'll do is you will get a mandatory stay-at-home 14 days because you might have contracted disease at church. He should be out of office. They're right now. They're great. There's recalls are coming up. Michigan as well. Out of office. Complete overreach. Complete ridiculousness. And I don't care whether it's Jewish, Christian, Muslim. It doesn't matter. All right, I'm losing what I'm doing here. I'm looking at some things I've written. So no a voter ID card, but yes, an immunity card. There's the whole thing about Gates now wanting the people to have immunity cards so they can go around. Have you been listening over the years to quote conspiracy radio? We're talking about the mark of the beast, which is, the biblical revelation mark of the beast, talking about world government, about people being watched and surveillance state, 1984, all those little crazy conspiracy theories. Hey, how about you got to get a mandatory vaccine and you can ask Robert Kennedy on the work that he's been doing on vaccines of how damaging they can be, let alone if there's you have Gil Gates talking about how he'd like to see 10 to 15% of the world population controlled in vaccines. These are all things that he's set off the cuff somewhere at the end of the day, all put together. So you want to have him on there and then what best way to know rather than having a card would be have a little chip in you? All you need is the chip with a number attached to you. That's all. It doesn't have to be. It's not your whole record of your life is in the little chip. All it is a scannable chip in your body with a number that's tied to your name. And all the data can be kept in the cloud. So that any reason at all, they could say, yeah, well, if we need a warrant for your arrest, they can find you. And, if they're trying to, if you've kidnapped one of your kids and took off or anything you've stole, they can find you. Yeah, that's all great. All great until what about closing down the churches because you might share the disease? See how that excuse is in there to break apart the fellowship, break apart the Trump rallies. They know because they know when people here. I know I'm dropping it all around the place. So they know when people get together in a proximity of each other, and there's emotional agitation, be it bad or good. Riots or cheering, rock concerts, churches, political rally. They know that when that event happens, there is a cross bonding of energy, spiritual, physical, whatever energy, all of it. There's a magic that happens, and people are changed often from that event, whether it be they get saved, quote unquote, or they decide to buy a bunch of albums from a band they go to see or whatever. There's an emotional, spiritual thing that happens. So you got to split people apart. You can't let them together. You have to arrest or ticket somebody for an abandoned park throwing a ball to their kid. Nah, we can't have that. Meanwhile, we're letting out prisoners on the street because we don't want them to get COVID, and we're going to be arresting people who go out in the street responsibly to recreate. I mean, can you see this? Does it? There's people out there going like, well, if you just, it's what we need to do. They're just, sorry. I don't talk a lot, so now I'm not coughing because I have it. It's from talking, and I do have allergies. But I'm taking allergy medicine more than I would because I don't want to get caught outside sneezing because, I'm waiting for a net to pick me up. What about this ridiculous stuff about the drug, HCQ? It could kill you. What have you got to lose? Well, you could lose your life. Well, they've been using the drug for, 50 years? People take it when they're not even ill, just in case so they won't get malaria? I mean, I'm not a big drug fan. I don't know about taking any drugs to prevent it. I mean, I don't know. But I do know that if I had COVID and I was starting looking at, okay, we're getting like, this is not just going to go away. I want it. And all the evidence shows that the worst that happens is nothing in like 0.7% of the cases. And doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't it tell you that the goal is not health? The goal is not health. The goal is to stop people from meeting together, whether it be Trump rallies, churches, even hanging out. Get them agitated. Get them upset. Disconnect them from their fellowships. To make sure they don't. We can't have COVID. We can't have HCQ around because it'll mess the curve. People will get better. They're supposed to die to make it worse, to make more draconian. Well, we're going to have a second wave. We're going to have to do this again, and we're going to have to people off every year at this time because it happens. Ridiculous. You got to say no to this stuff. You got to hang all over your representatives. I'm not saying that. Not all these people are in on there. In fact, this is the time of revealing. This is my spiritual analysis. It's a time of the revealing, and it's a time of people to make choices. You're going to have to choose A or B. You're going to have to choose like tyranny, oppression, or liberty and freedom. You're going to have to go to state-controlled religion, allowed religion, or to your free choice of religion. Your state allowing you to move around, move about. I mean, people who have been around in communist, the East Blocks, this is all familiar to them. They're like going, oh my God. I haven't talked with her in years, but there's a lady I knew who was from Poland. Well, I went to visit her. She was around during the time of Lech Walesa and before. And she said things that are right now happening. Go to our store, right? Go to the store. You have to go to the store when you know to get a load and get there early, right? She told me that it was commonplace during the time of communists that it wasn't that they didn't have money. Of course, they didn't have a lot of it. They were very frugal, but it's not that they didn't have money to buy meat and cheese and eggs. There wasn't anything to buy. They had to wait till the store opened up on the day that they got their order the night before, and they had to run in there and grab it before it's gone. Yes, what's happening now? You got to go early to the store to get toilet paper. Yes, so far in my store, the milk has been enough, though it's a lot. It's pretty spare. Sparse? Spare and bare is sparse, from sparse. That's what was happening. The supply chain is cutting off for some reason. There is a demand, but I talked to the store owner, a store manager, asking him like, I don't understand. It's been a few weeks now. They've been having limits on people buying toilet paper, one package. Why is it still rare? And he says, we're not getting it. We're ordering it. It's not coming in. What this company does is whatever they get, they distribute to the stores. They go they look at the size of the stores, whatever, and they distribute the amount that they have. That is just like communist Poland. Exactly the same thing. Oh, well, it's because of what? The truck drivers are working. The trains are working. The companies that are making these things, I'm delivering it to them. They're still making stuff. there's the middleman in the supply chain. I'm guessing because they're not shipping because there's not demand on one side, and the other side we want to buy, but there's stuff's not in the store. Well, who's in the middle? So what is the middleman in on this too? Did the technocrats go to the middleman and go like, well, we need to cut down on stuff here? What's the deal? Is it some kind of ping pong that because our system is such a fine-tuned, balanced system that any kind of imbalance bounces around like a ping pong and screwing things up? I mean, what I see coming down the pike now, if this isn't turned on like now, is you're going to have shortages for no reason. You're going to have more layoffs in work. I mean, if there's nothing coming down the supply chain, what am I going to be delivering? Why are companies going to make the item if no one buys the item? But people want to buy the item, but they're being told it's not available. It's that middle system there, which is part of the chokehold on the United States. So what do you do about it? Well, you can't go out and protest, peaceably or otherwise, even if you have 6 feet difference and you wear a mask and all that stuff. You can't go out and do that because you're endangering the health of like the whole world, and you'll be arrested. You can't go to meetings to talk about it. You can't in person. You can go online, which of course is edited, censored, and whatnot. You can put the stuff up there, but no one knows it's there. There's people on my feeds that are subscribers. They don't even know. Oh, I didn't know you had a show. I didn't see nothing of it. Well, it's out there. You're a subscriber. Doesn't get to it. And I'm small potatoes anyway. So the big potatoes are even more a sore spot in there. So I tell you, if I would have thought about this earlier, I mean, I actually, who knows who was going to get this bad. I think I would have arranged some kind of a church service. I'm going to look at that in the near future. If there's only a couple weeks supposedly left. And I know Trump wants to do this. I think Trump got trapped because if he wouldn't have gone along with this, then any death would be blamed on him. Of course, they're trying to do it anyway, saying he didn't do it close enough. When he did it, people made fun of him and said he didn't need to do it. But now he didn't do it early enough. Luckily, there's a lot of video to back up this up, so I'm hoping that. I know in the MSM media they're just blasting these words, but people like Tucker and others who are on different media formats are putting out these videos, they themselves saying things. Hopefully Trump will be doing that in campaign ads. No, I lost where I was. Well, I think let me look real quick. There's a bunch of articles I've had, and I'll put the links in there. The arguments that I've had about HCQ and how it's been legal for years, and there's a very well known risk guidelines who not to give it to. Here's the article. Former police officer arrested in a park for throwing a ball with his daughter due to and there's nobody around, just them, and they live in the same house. So they're going. What are they going to look in your window to make sure we're all 6 feet apart? Come on. This should be ringing all kinds of bells in your head. I wrote my state senator and rep. I don't know if that matters. Tucker's been doing pretty good. I mean, he can't do it all, and there's some things that he's not touching on. But I got so many things I posted up in there. Then there's about the people who die from COVID. If you have COVID and you die, you died from COVID. Now, if you were in the hospital with cancer, you weren't looking good, you got COVID, which is kind of funny. How did he get that in the hospital? But that's another discussion. How do all these nursing homes all rabid with COVID? So if you have your cancer, you're not doing good, you get COVID, you die, COVID is the cause of death. Secondary condition, cancer, secondary. And the logic is that if it was for COVID, would you still be alive? Well, probably. You'd die eventually, but not then. So it's the cause of death. if anybody has COVID tested in their body, even if it's not a contributing factor, like, for example, if you're having some other issues and you have an pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, and you contract COVID and you die from bacterial pneumonia, it's COVID. Because they need numbers. They're desperate for numbers. The numbers aren't coming out anywhere near than what they are. And so they need them. And I made a post that apparently these people took a play from the Weatherman's book, that is the weather prediction system. Years ago, they predicted the storm wouldn't hit, and it did, and guys lost their jobs. Weather forecasters lost their job. But now they adopt the policy, always come up with worst case scenario, so that when it doesn't happen, we all can go, "Ooh, wow, we got lucky there, we missed it. Yeah, well, we dodged a bullet. Okay." But if they say there isn't a storm and there is, then they're, well, here we are. We're going to 20 million people are going to die. Oh my God, shut everything down. Oh, aren't you glad we shut everything down? Those 20 million people died. No, those 20 people are alive, but they're all out of a job. Their houses are being repoed. Oh, but the mortgages. A guy told me about how he's suffering because of a lack of work. He wanted to refinance, and to refinance, his interest was higher than when he bought the house. I'm thinking, how's it possible? 0% interest or almost? Maybe to tack 1 or 2% on top of it? No. His was 5% interest. I don't know. Oh, yeah, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago. What a knucklehead. She she went and got her hair done by her hair stylist, and somehow just got posted online in the reporters. God bless them. Some support, Illinois is all Democratic, but WGN radio or TV or both reporters said, "Hey, how come you went and got your hair done?" And she went out to the place to get the hair done. You're supposed to stay at home. Her reply was, "Well, I'm out in public. I'm in the limelight. I need to have this done." And stuck hard with that. The next day, when they called her out harder on it, she just walked away. What about arrogant SOBs? Arrogant, elitist aristocrats? And then the printer comes out and says, "We're closing everything down all summer. We're going to see about in the winter. We may, it might take 18 months or weeks or 18 months to do this." And the reporters' mouths are hanging up, and they can't believe he's going to be doing it. Texas is talking about starting to open up, Florida, California, and Illinois never got that bad. Plus, Illinois has a 2,000 bed setup in McCormick Place, which is a place for concerts and conventions and whatnot. Nobody's there. $2 million, I think it was, to build it. That's probably where the $2 million came. $2 million to do it. No one's there. Who's going to pay for that? Well, we're hoping FEMA will pay for it. FEMA's not paying for it. They didn't tell them to do it. It wasn't like, yeah, you build it, we pay for it. Nothing to do with FEMA. They did it on their own. No one's there. I have people who work, extended family, are in hospitals. They're saying that they prepared by cutting down all of the. I told this last week. Well, I asked them. I said, "Well, they're starting to come. They're in. There's people in. There's people are dying, but the personal equipment is holding out right. They have room. Everyone's getting served. So in other words, they're handling the surge because the surge isn't there, which is good. It isn't there, but the surge is not there because of the draconian actions they put in. The surge isn't there because the virus wasn't able to get those people. The surge, the draconian practices are going to be justified by the lack of deaths. Isn't that amazing? They can come up with anything they want and predict big deaths, and they put up draconian, crushing measures and say, "See, we justified it because we didn't have those deaths." What about they wouldn't have been here anyway? Now, you can't ask that question. Especially when you get Lori Lightfoot. She's a black lady and a gay black lady, so she's got two, get out of criticism cards. But I got to tell you, I give them credit. The WGN reporters, held their feet to the fire, to coin a phrase. Rand Paul got the illness, cycled through it, got better, and now he's volunteering on the front lines because he's immune to it. That is a real guy. Not like these knuckleheads we got, Schumer and whoever. Oh, my God. Here's the graph I wanted to say. They post deaths by pneumonia. And every year, they have several years on the graph, and there's a spike during the flu season for pneumonia. Because when you have the flu, you can go into pneumonia. Well, this year, during the COVID pandemic, the pneumonia deaths are the lowest they've been in years. Now, how's that possible? Well, the COVID is killing them before they have pneumonia? No, they all have pneumonia. When all these people are dying from COVID, they all have pneumonia. But they're not recording it as a pneumonia death. They're recording it as COVID. Normally speaking, if you die from the flu, but not pneumonia, they'll give you the flu death and pneumonia separate. So when you see the numbers from the seasonal flu, they have influenza, pneumonia, together equals the number because there's a relationship with them. Well, not in this case. It's all COVID. And that's what I like about these numbers is that they're there. They're available. You can see for years and years in the past, way before this was invented, this whole thing was set up. Yes, it's a real flu. Yes, people are getting it. Yes, they're dying. Yes, it is tougher on certain risk factor areas. Not a fake. Not fake. Not a fraud. Trump never said it was a hoax. It was how it was being used and portrayed. And I totally agree. But I'm not running for office. Though I'd like to, I would. I just don't know how I can go about doing it. And I don't see me being as straightforward as I am. I don't know. I just don't see that being able to be a politician. I posted a link to I'm mad as hell. I'm not taking it anymore. What a great thing. 1976, this came out. Before there was any Jerry Springers, before anything, they predicted the whole circus called Network News. What an amazing movie. I wish I could talk to the screenwriter. He passed away now. I'd like to talk to him and say, where'd you get this? This is amazing. Did you see it? Is it total fiction? Is it just coincidence that it came true? But I'll see if I can put those links up so you can see that. So get ready. So let me get down to the what do we need to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. It's like when someone asks me, what do you do for supplements, or what do you do for, for what's your regimen during this season? Well, I take iodine. I put several drops in a little glass of still water, probably a lot. I got like a half an eyedropper. I'll gargle with it in my mouth and swallow it. Vitamin A, 2 pills. I think it's 10,000 units. Vitamin D3, I take 15,000, but because I mix it with K2, which uses some of that D3 to make different enzymes. Vitamin C, all of the, I've been doing this, and then I read some of these protocols by doctors online for preventative, strengthening the body against the virus. They act like this virus. It's like once you're in, somebody's in a room has it, and they cough. It's like you're like, oh no, I got it. No, it's not it. Your body has ways to fend off viruses outside of their effectability. It's just that it has to get past these generic precautions that it can get through, and then it has to get to a certain amount of number. So by drinking hot liquids, washes down the throat, kills the viruses that are being made, because the virus is really a protein. It has RNA information in it, so it's covered with a fat, and it has these little thingies that allows it to hook onto a cell wall and work its way in. So by drinking hot fluids, for example, your melting the fat off, destroying the protein, rinsing in your stomach where the acids kill it. Doing stuff like that helps. So you may have got some in, it started to grow, starting to make, and then you do that, and that could do it. Plus, having these things I mentioned makes it a little harder for the virus when it's in the cell to do what it's supposed to do. And then they find out with the HCQ that it opens up a zinc connection. It opens up a pathway for zinc in your cell, which stops the disease cells from reproducing the virus. Well, I've been taking zinc now, since the 90s. So it's different when you just take the zinc. It's not going to automatically do this, but by taking zinc regularly, you have, because of osmosis, you have zinc in your system. All these things together, drinking water, sleeping, drinking, eating organic foods, not foods with all kinds of toxins and crap in it, which taxes your system. All these things work. All right. So with that in mind, okay, what do we do about this? Well, I've come up with some things I want to do. And the problem was, you look at the 60s, you had Rosa Parks and others sitting on the bus, people demanding service on the counter and all this stuff. Those were laws back then. You could not do that. It was a law that said the black guy can't sit up front of the bus or sit with the white. I mean, it was a law. All right. So now we're here in a law that says you can't go to church. I mean, if no reason, every church should be packed. And they should be calling on the phone to their mayors, their leaders, and saying, I'm telling you one thing, I am going to do my best to throw you out in the street. If you keep doing this stuff, when your election comes up, I'm going to camp outside of your thing. I'm going to have signs. I'm going to do this because I've had mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm a human being, and my life has value. My rights have value. And America was built on those rights. But the problem is a lot of no one wants to be that one who's arrested. I don't want to do it. I don't want to have to be the one that's arrested. Let the other guy do it. And then no one does it and doesn't get done. And that's what they bank on. So, civil disobedience back in the old days was just like sitting down. Gandhi, they just sat down. And they said, no, you can't be here. They sat down. They got beat up. They got killed. But they sat down. And eventually the British soldiers couldn't take it anymore. Their conscience was they're killing people for sitting down. This is the kind of thing we had to say, no, we're not going to do this, and we'll have to take whatever they do. You need lawyers to step up. ACLU is worthless now. It's on the enemy side, enemy against us instead of for us. We need lawyers to step up and bring things to court to challenge this. Kentucky, they challenged Kentucky up to the Supreme Court in Kentucky for not allowing drive-in worship services where people would drive in and stay in their car. I guess they turn the radio on to listen to them, but they could still be together in the service. And the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that. Not on my watch. I'm not going to see the stuff that I see coming from like Germany. Not happening here. We need people like that. We need lawyers. We need the judges to stand up and go, no. The Constitution allows free. Doesn't mean we can't be responsible. People should be responsible in how they. In fact, this should be how we do it during flu season anyway, because there's 50,000 people die anyway every year. 30 to 50,000 every year die. So a lot of these methods should be taken through these times. We could have flu warnings. People could do these things. Volunteer to stay apart, to wash sanitize your hands, wash them, gloves, masks, especially the people who are the riskiest. The elderly, their immune system fights back so dramatically it kills them, trying to kill the disease. So there's methods we can use. There's protections. That's all called, but that's not what they want. They want to crush you. This is when those cops were walking around taking license plate numbers, they weren't doing it for public health. They were doing it to say, I'm the boss, you're not, and I'm going to show you. Well, anyway, we can't stand for this, but it's going to be, you have to do it. You can't go out and use bombs and guns and all that stuff. They're waiting for that. They're waiting for violence. They've been waiting for Trump fans to do stuff, and they didn't. They're waiting for any excuse to put the police and the military against the general public. Right now, they're on the same side with Trump. And, of course, there's going to be psychopaths available in those areas to step up to the front and be the guy that'll bust your chops for playing ball with your kid alone at the Riverside. They'll step up for that. There will be those. You have to just not fight back. You have to say no. And that's it. No. And take whatever comes. Of course, I'm saying this now, so that means I am going to be, I'm not that popular. If I was, then they would be waiting for me or do something wrong. But it's still going to happen. It's going to come across my path, and I'm going to have to, hold my own feet to the fire, and especially when it comes to church. The country was founded in a freedom religion. I mean, that was like the reason they even, before it was a country. Now, if you're not a Christian, it doesn't matter. It's the freedom of expression and freedom of doing this stuff. So I'm not telling you what to do. I don't want you to tell me what to do. I'm not limiting you, other than the normal aspects of, like, we don't want to have you knocking out my window to come in for a drink of water. I don't know, whatever, making crazy stuff up. And, of course, the news media and the people on the YouTubes and all this stuff, they're all into themselves. They all got the ego. They're all got, and this whole Q stuff, I just can't take it anymore. It is so delusional. There might be prosecutions. Barr's talking about, these things should be done. But all Barr's got to do Trump's got to do is not get elected. And the whole thing's done. You'll never see it again. But to say that there's these patriots that are buried in there and the white hats, they're getting ready to fight and step in there and do this. Even the stuff that's coming out about the kids being taken, 100,000 kids taken from underground cages. You could just say anything you want along a storyline, the LARP storyline, and people will embrace it fully. I could do this. I got my little radio show here. I could do this. I got connections that told me this happened. It was amazing what they did. They did this. Man, it'd be all over the place. The YouTubes would be being shared. It'd be great. And I completely made it up. And I just can't deal with this stuff anymore. So I'm going to be just snoozing people. I just don't want to see it. If they arrest them and they take them, if they arrest them and prosecute them, I will see that. I will know about it. It'll be on the news in spite of itself. I don't need to have some guy with somebody behind the scenes who knows this one, who sees this stuff telling me and all that. It's all just feeding a sick delusion. I want all this stuff to happen as much as everybody else. But I'm also real. And so I hope they're doing it. I hope these things are going to be happening, and someday it'll come out in the open to show that they really did happen. Because now there's people who believe they released out of 20,000 children who are imprisoned underneath the Vatican, and everybody's so happy about that. No proof, other than people saying that somebody who knows tells me. If I hear that again, sources close to the source, told me, unnamed source. Get out of here. Get away from me. It's been burned. It's been burned to death. All right. I think what I'm going to do now, I'm done talking about this stuff. There's nothing else to talk about. I could do this every week and put all these things together every week and show all the falsities and show the things that are, I don't know what benefit it does. There's other people doing it. And as soon as I go against Q or Planet X, or if I go against these things, well then, people I'm not listening to you anymore, then fine. I don't know what to say. What I do want to do, though, is I think the only real important thing at these times is we are going to be persecuted. And if you don't think Christians be persecuted, hello, now if you go to church, you're killing people by going to church. Right? It's going to be persecutions are going to happen. And the bottom line is, are you going to stand up for the principles that Jesus taught during these times? It's going to be the crucible, the test. If you go back in several shows, you'll see I got one called the crucible. I got one talking about COVID-19. The thing that scares me is not the disease, but what's coming next. And here it is. What I see coming next, actually I did quote a Bible verse. John 14:15. I got to find it now. It's at the end of one of my things, and you know how it doesn't show it all at first. But read Matthew, I think it's 24, toward the end there, where it talks about, Master, when will these things come about? Read that part. Because Jesus didn't say, well, because you have accepted me and whatnot, you're going to be spared all of it. That was created later on by people who didn't like what they saw. And, I don't blame them. I don't like what I saw either. I don't blame them. I'm not happy about it. But you got to be real about things. Now, here it is. It's yesterday I posted this. That's how long it was. It seemed like it was weeks ago. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but a lot of which I just said already. But let me read this. I think if there's really a divine goal in these times, it would be the naked exposure of the world system's evil, parentheses, the apocalypse or the revealing, prior to the tribulation, as evil fights back. And the tribulation will be evil fighting back with no holds barred in a scorched earth. And the Christian's actual part will be to witness this, living out the teaching of Jesus during these times. You remember the things popping in my mind? You're the salt of the earth. You hold the light on the hill. Here's a quote from John 15. If the world hates you, you know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you were, I can't read this, I'm too far away, I got to get closer. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, because of this world hates you. Because of this world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a slave is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will keep your words also. But of course, they didn't keep his word, and they're not going to keep our word. But all these things they do to you for my name's sake, because they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoke to them, they would not have sinned. But now they have no excuse for their sin. He who hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done among them the works which no one else did, they would not have sinned. But now they have both seen and have hated me and my Father as well. In ASB, I like it because it's a very good translation on there, but it's kind of awkward to read because Greek, the original Greek would be awkward to read directly into English. So there's another version I like a lot called God's Word, which is very easy to read. It's better than the NIV because to me it's more accurate, less more liberal opinions, let's say. Not that the NIV is bad. I mean, I'd rather read that than nothing. But for us Christians to think that, it's fine, we're going to be lifted out of here, everything will be fine. This is when we're needed the most during these times, to be that light, to shine, to stand for God's word, to stand for Jesus' teachings in this darkness, in this time of trouble, to stand there and say, no, you do not have the right to stop me from going to church and being arrested for it. It's not fun. Jesus never said it was going to be fun to follow him. And this is where people find out what they're made of. Are you a Christian? Or are you a Christian in name only? Was that a rhino? What would that be? Sino? Are you a Sino or are you a Christian? And this is the time of testing. This is the deal. So if you're a pre-trib rapture and you believe that, fine. I mean, do it, whatever. But just remember these things when the rapture is, if the rapture comes, great. I love it. I'm fine. I love it. I don't think it's coming. It doesn't come till Jesus comes. And I know Dr. Jack Vidippi, God rest his soul, would take me to task on it. He'll go on and on, but you have to build that doctrine. It does not come right out of Jesus' teachings. You have to work with it. You have to pull a little Daniel, pull some stuff from Revelations, kind of mix it together and come up with it. But I do know that, according to Jesus, if those days were not shortened, no flesh would live on earth. So that tells me it's going to be pretty bad, and that God will intervene out of mercy. And the intervention, when you read in that, is great. Again, you look up, I had a vision. Look on the YouTube and search for vision. It's not what I'm basing it on. I'm basing it on the normal way that I do things, which is the internal dialogue and logic, lack of contradiction, taking Jesus' words as the basis to build from. After doing the research to find out the words can be trusted, at least historically, from how it was passed down. And that's where, and we're seeing it. Hello. All right. Well, after an hour, Bonnie shows up in the chat room here and says hi. For those who are listening to this after the fact that didn't know this, there is a chat room in Spreaker. I think you have to join. It's free to get an ID to go into the password, into the chat. But you can listen for free, and it's free. You don't have to pay anything to listen. But so if there are people who don't use Facebook, I understand that. I don't like it myself, but it just seems convenient until they throw me off. If they do, go to Facebook and look up James Arthur Jancic. I'm sure I'll come up in the filter. And you can go there, want to be a friend or whatever. I'll approve you. I think you can read it anyway, but if not, I'll still do it. And there's a lot of articles I put up that I can't go into. I'll be here all day talking. And I try at the end of the show, put these links in there. It just takes as long as it takes to do this show, it takes to put that up on the links. So, an easy, fast way to do it would be to use the Facebook thing. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. And a happy Easter. God has arisen. And it's like, I just felt embarrassed. I mean, I haven't gone to church in a while. Not having problems doctrinally with the churches. But I just kind of felt embarrassed driving. I went out on a motorcycle and took a ride to go out and get something for lunch to bring home. And I went to a place far away, so to take the ride. And I'm driving by church after church after church, which is empty on Easter. And it's just, I don't know. It really bothered me. And it reminded me of Peter when they said, hey, you were with him, weren't you? No, I didn't. Died at him 3 times. After in the cockroach, that's just kind of felt like that. I felt bad. If I could have found a church, I would have went. And I'm going to be looking for next week. And somebody's got to start opening up churches. And you pastors out. There has been a couple people who did it. And they were kind of charismatic churches. They weren't the mainstream. They weren't Methodist, Catholic, Baptist. Where's the Baptist? That's where I came from. The Baptist would hold it out in a field somewhere to have it. And maybe I shouldn't say that I haven't checked every church on earth, so I'm hoping that some have, and God bless them, the ones who have. To me, having these doctrinal issues, it's like, put it all aside. We got to make a public stand here for God and Jesus, because there's definitely breathing down the throat. So, all right, I'll go, and we will see you next time. God bless. Take care.
My old friend, the one who walked before, the one who walk again, the ancient one of old, with wisdom for the new. Revive our inner sight, retell your timeless truths. Oh, ancient one.
Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the ONSIG radio network of stations.